Hey everyone, my name is Karl Viertel and I'm General Manager of Mitratech's GRC business. Welcome to our morning coffee, and I'm really excited to be talking to you today about ESG, environmental, social, and governance risk. And I'd like to talk to you about three big topics today. One, implementing ESG. Two, some really exciting new regulations from around the world around ESG. And three, how we at Mitratech have developed some really cool tech and content to help organizations understand their ESG risk and implement some ESG risk management processes. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about implementing ESG. And the question number one is, well, who does it? And I was actually just in New York a few weeks ago at an ESG conference, and one of the panelists actually asked the audience, well, who's actually taking responsibility of ESG in your organizations? And there were a handful of people that said, okay, it was in compliance and legal and risk, but actually the majority had a dedicated position responsible for managing ESG. Now, it was really interesting because I think this is a very US-centric view. A lot of the current US ESG management is all around investment management, so understanding the ESG exposure of a potential investment target, whereas in EU, oftentimes it's more around ESG reporting requirements, as these are slightly more advanced or more focused on general ESG reporting. So I think my prediction for this role will be that we'll actually see more and more dedicated ESG roles also in Europe. And my analogy for this prediction is really the chief security officer. If you think about his or her role about 15 years ago, they were a direct report in some subset of the organization, and today a very prominent figure reporting directly into the board. And I really believe that that is where the ESG manager's role is heading, but at a much accelerated pace. So my prediction, we're going to see a really strong profile for ESG managers going forward. The second element is how to implement it. And actually, we discussed this in the RegTech Black Book that Mitratech contributed to just a few weeks ago in quite a bit of detail. It's a really cool analysis of how processes that we know from operational risk management, we know from operational resilience management need to include ESG risk, and vice versa, ESG risk management needs to be performed using those same processes that we've actually known and perfected in operational risk management. So think about it. How would you expect to be operationally resilient if you don't understand the risks that arguably will be coming from ESG risk factors in the future? So go and check out the RegTech Black Book. It's a really cool read also for other RegTech related topics. Secondly, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the new regulations coming out. And I think we can't gloss over this section without talking about the SEC in the US. So the SEC has proposed new reporting requirements on ESG for businesses across the US. And the interesting element for me is the scope 1, 2, and 3. So scope 1 and 2 are basically ESG risks that are contained within the organization from the organization's operations. But scope 3 is where we're talking about third parties, outsourcing providers, partners. And so understanding your ESG risk across this entire operation of your extended organization, a really exciting challenge, and I think one that we're going to be talking about for a number of months and maybe even years to come. The second real big development is from the UK. So following Brexit, there's been obviously a lot of new regulation and laws that either come into effect or are currently being discussed. And one of them people are calling UK SOX. So UK SOX because it's very much like the control and risk requirements that the Sarbanes-Oxley Act has defined in the US, but for UK businesses. But one of the exciting elements in the current proposals being discussed is to actually include ESG risk criteria into UK SOX. So watch this space because I believe that this is going to be hugely transformational for requirements around ESG risk management for UK companies. Last but not least, I'd like to talk a little bit about how we at Mitratech think about ESG risk management and want to help our customers and clients be successful in understanding their ESG risk and applying it to their internal processes. So what we've done is we believe that there's at the moment no real detailed framework of ESG criteria that help organizations gather the right data, ask the right questions to get into sufficient detail, while at the same time meeting all of the regulatory and existing frameworks out there at the same time. And so what we've done is we've created our own framework of more than 300 data points that is linked to what we call megatrends and subtrends, and we formulated hypotheses. So it's much about the question of asking, if this megatrend happens, how will this organization be affected? And then we link it to our risk trees that basically analyze some scenarios, help organizations understand which risks might actually be directly related to an impact in one or many megatrend or subtrend. And we apply that to our existing assurance processes and operational risk capabilities that our customers already know and love and have perfected within the Mitratech Align platform. So if you want to know more about how Mitratech's ESG capability within our GRC platform can help you, follow the links down below and get in touch with some of our experts.